You can tell that Jon M is passionate when it comes to this movie. He wants to make this movie as good for the fans as possible. And if you are fans of Wicked, there are definitely some surprises in this film. Some nods, some Easter eggs, even some Easter eggs to the original Wizard of Oz in general. What is up, guys and musical fans? Welcome back to my channel. This is OCD Movie Reviews. My name is On the Brinkat, and today, of course, the movie we've been anticipating for this year has finally arrived. Finally, this stage show adaptation we've been waiting for has finally arrived. Today, I am going to review Wicked, or Wicked Part 1. This movie is directed by Jon M and stars Cynthia, Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jonathan Bailey, Michelle Yeoh, and Jeff Goldblum. And of course, guys, if you have not seen this movie, you are safe here. This is going to be a completely non-spoiler review. If you have not seen the play or the film, do not worry. You guys are completely safe here. Like I said, in every non-spoiler review, I'm just going to talk about my initial thoughts on this movie. So, what are we waiting for? Let's follow the yellow brick road and get on to this review. Elphaba, a misunderstood young woman because of her green skin, and Glinda, a popular girl, becomes friends at Shiz University in the Land of Oz. After an encounter with the wonderful Wizard of Oz, their friendship reaches a crossroads. Now, this review is coming from the guy that loves musicals. I do love musicals, from Broadway to film. I love musicals. I really do. And this is coming from a guy that has seen the stage show of Wicked. I have seen Wicked at the start of this year. Great timing when this movie is coming out. And of course, my thoughts on the stage play is fantastic. This is one of the best stage show plays that I have ever seen. It's one of the most popular, iconic Broadway musicals of all time. It just has a great story of misunderstoodness and hidden racism at the exact same time. It's a story that I would say, without spoiling it, makes you see the Wizard of Oz in a whole new way. So of course, I was anticipating for this movie. I love Jon M. He's a great director. He directed probably one of my favorite musicals in a while, which is In the Heights. That movie really blew me away. So when I heard he's directing Wicked, I'm like, man, this is a big step up from In the Heights, because, of course, Wicked is one of the biggest Broadway musicals of all time, and especially adapting it to a film, it's probably one of the biggest films that he's ever going to direct. But when I heard about the casting with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, I'm like, great casting. The trailers of the film really do impress me, but also get me very nervous, because this is one of the biggest Broadway musicals of all time, and adapting this Broadway musical is a big risk. This is a movie that's supposed to impress Wicked fans out there who have seen the play, but also love musicals in general. But I was still going into this movie with an open mind. I was so pumped for this film, and yes, this is a part 1 of a split into 2 parts Wicked movie. So this is basically Act 1 of the show, but just portrayed on the big screen. And when I heard that Jon M is going to split the Wicked movies into 2 parts, I was interested because I think it's a really good idea to explore some elements a little bit more. So for Wicked Part 1, I went into this movie really excited. The theater was freaking packed. I went to see this film in IMAX 3D. The theater was packed, full of kids, full of Wicked fans out there. And it's definitely a great theater experience, guys, right when I walked out of it. So here we go. What are my thoughts on Wicked, or Wicked Part 1, as a lot of people now like to call it? What are my thoughts on this movie? Well, right when I walked out of Wicked, my face hurts. And here's what I mean by that. My face hurts from smiling the whole way through. Guys, Wicked absolutely blew me away. I think, to me, Wicked Part 1 broke this year for me. Yes, I'm saying it. Wicked Part 1. Fuck it, I'm calling it Wicked Part 1 now because that's what the film is actually called now. Wicked Part 1 is my favorite movie of this year, and I don't think it's going to change, because this movie impressed me from start to finish. Let's talk about the casting of this film, because that's one of my biggest positives of the film. Every single cast member in Wicked, you can understand why Jon M chose these people. Fantastic in this film, especially the 2 main leads of the film. Starting off with Ariana Grande as Glinda. Fantastic. When I heard she is casted as Glinda, I thought it's perfect, because if you remember, she plays Cat Valentine in Victorious, which is a show I loved as a kid. But if you don't know Glinda in the Broadway show, she's a very dimsy character, and I think Ariana Grande can play a dimsy character well, And I remember the video when she got the role and she said, I will take care of her. I was hoping she did. She absolutely did. She is fantastic as Glinda. She is hilarious in the film. She's charming in the film. Her voice, of course, it's Ariana Grande. Of course her voice is fantastic in this film. But she's just a fun character in this film. She plays one of those characters that you love to hate, because she's just that likable on screen. And you see her character change throughout the entire film, and I thought Ariana Grande really performs that role very, very well. So many great standouts, especially with Popular. She completely nails it in this film. But let's also talk about Cynthia Erivo, especially as Elphaba. She stole this movie for me. She is phenomenal in this film. We follow her along throughout this film. You feel very sympathy for her character in the film, because this is a film about misunderstoodness. And you feel really bad for her getting mistreated by everybody. And Cynthia Erivo playing that role, she nailed it. Especially within the musical sequences. Her voice is incredible in this film. Especially when it comes to Defying Gravity. Holy shit. But definitely Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba is going to be the role that I will absolutely remember her from. And one of my biggest positives with the film is absolutely the chemistry between Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. The chemistry between Elphaba and Glinda is one of the most important parts of the show, and absolutely in this movie, they completely nailed it. Their chemistry is really well done in this film. Probably the most memorable chemistry that I'm ever going to see this year with Deadpool and Wolverine. It's a good year for duos, what can I say? And I think the chemistry between Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are fantastic. Also, Jonathan Bailey as Fiyero. He is awesome in this film. Really surprising, actually. He definitely has his own standouts in the film. Definitely his chemistry with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are great in the film. But man, his standout scene with Dancing for Life, man, you just like this guy. And he's going to be in the latest Jurassic World movie coming out next year. And I'm really curious to see what he's going to do next. I thought Jonathan Bailey does a great job in the film. The rest of the cast though, from Peter Dinklage voicing over Dr. Dillahan, fantastic in the film. Even some of the small supporting cast, including Ethan Slater as Buck and Melissa Bode as Nezros. Those two are also really good in the film. Not in the movie much, but if you have seen them play, they're definitely important characters for part 2, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them in part 2. Also, Michelle Yeoh as Madame Morrible. I thought she is also really good in this film, and she has a great chemistry with Cynthia Erivo in the film. But one more cast member I want to talk about, and that is Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard of Oz. Fantastic. He's not in the movie all that much. If you guys know Wicked Act 1, he's not going to be in this movie all that much. But whenever you see him in this movie, he is great. When they announced that Jeff Goldblum's going to play the Wizard of Oz, I already say it's great casting, and it shows in this film. He does a great job. But I gotta give much props to the production design of this film. This movie is filmed on actual sets. Actual buildings being made, the trains have even been made. There are some green screen visual effects, but they are really good in the film, especially with the animals. They look fantastic, but most of this movie is filmed on sets live, and holy shit. If this movie doesn't get a nomination for Best Production Design in the Oscars, I'll be pissed, because this is some of the best production designs that I have seen this entire year. Also, the cinematography is fantastic in the film, but man, of course, you've been waiting for this. Let's talk about the musical aspect of this film, the music sequences. Holy crap. If I can't pick my favorite in this film, that is a good thing, because every single musical sequence in Wicked Part 1, man, every single one of them blew me away. From One Short Day, to Popular, to Dancing for Life. That's such a fun sequence in this film, and especially Defying Gravity. Absolutely on the big screen, completely nailed it. And Jon M absolutely directed these musicals extremely well. And with the actors singing live, it makes the musical sequences even better. Every single actor in the film sang live. Phenomenal. You can tell that Jon M is passionate when it comes to this movie. He wants to make this movie as good for the fans as possible. And if you are fans of Wicked, there are definitely some surprises in this film. Some nods, some Easter eggs, even some Easter eggs to the original Wizard of Oz in general. You can tell that Jon M really knows what he is doing. This is definitely a love letter to Wicked itself. And I gotta say, for a part 1 of the split into 2-part movie, the way this movie ended, it didn't end off as a cliffhanger for me. It literally ended conclusively for part 1. And if you have seen Act 1 of the show, you know exactly how this movie is going to end. And the way this movie ended, oh my gosh guys, this is one of my favorite endings that I've ever seen this year. And it ends very conclusively, and that's what I liked. It didn't end off going, oh man, now we have to wait till next year. I'm like, you know what? I can wait till next year. We're gonna have the longest intermission break ever, but I'm fine with it because the way this movie is, it felt like a standalone movie on its own. But still can't deny that I am excited for Wicked Part 2. After this movie, I gotta say, it's probably now one of my most anticipated movies of next year. If I could say one nitpick for Wicked Part 1, and it's not a bad nitpick because from start to finish, this movie is flawless for me. But my only issue, nitpick of this film is definitely the runtime. You definitely do feel the runtime throughout this movie. But there's a difference here. Sometimes when I say I feel the runtime of the movie, I could be bored. I felt the runtime, but I was still immersed with the film from start to finish. So I would say my advice to you, go see this movie in the most comfortable seats possible because you're definitely in for a long ride here. But this is definitely a long, blockbuster musical epic from start to finish. None of the scenes even bore me, not even once. Every single moment in Wicked Part 1 has its purpose, and if you have seen the show, there are some changes to this movie that I thought it completely works. You can tell that Jon M really wants to expand more of the story of the film, and he completely nails it. Every single scene in Wicked Part 1 really blew me away. I can't pick a single flaw with this movie. I watched this movie twice already, and I still felt the same. Overall, guys, Wicked Part 1. This is my favorite movie of the year, and there is no denying that. This movie absolutely blew me away. From Jon M's direction, from the casting, especially Cynthia and Ariana Grande, they completely nailed it as Glenn and Elphaba. With the rest of the cast being great, the musical sequences are completely epic in this film. Well directed, the production design needs to get an Oscar nomination with costume as well. Every single moment of Wicked Part 1, I was immersed in, and it proves that I feel like Jon M should direct more musicals, or every musical that's going to exist, because he knows what he is doing when it comes to musicals, especially with Wicked Part 1, and this made me look more forward to Wicked Part 2 next year and see how he directs that movie. But absolutely for Broadway fans, for fans of The Wizard of Oz, fans of the original Wicked stage show, and even just a fan of movies in general, Wicked will blow your mind. This movie is one of those movies that I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm thinking of 2024, I think of Wicked Part 1. This movie is one of the best blockbusters and one of the best movies that I have seen this entire year. But I'm going to give it this rating though, because since this is a Part 1, the film is very incomplete. So I'm going to say for Wicked Part 1, absolutely go see this movie on the big screen as soon as you possibly can. The reason why I'm giving it that rating, not a masterpiece rating, which I really want to, it's because this is still a Part 1. We still got Part 2 coming out, and if Part 2 is as good as this, I would consider both of these two movies a masterpiece rating. Absolutely. So guys, that is my review for Wicked Part 1. Let me know what you think of this film in the comments below. Do you like the film, hate the film, or you thought it's like, hey, just let me know in the comments below. And what is your favorite musical element from this movie, without spoiling it? Let me know also in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below, keep contact with me, and make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, notify for my latest movie reviews and other movie related content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day.